10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this December 16th, 2019.
We've been doing this show for so long, people should just be sick of the show. And
yeah, we're going to go on 11 years. I think we're finishing up our 10th year. You're finishing up our 10th year here.
Yeah. Never had a script. Never had anything pre-written down.
No. In the beginning, I did. I think this
probably never had a good show. That's why,
This could probably be a record. I don't think anyone's done a radio show this long. Matter of fact, if you add on the muscular development years that I did, that's another 3 years. So it's really 13 years. But Heavy Muscle Radio this year, we're finishing up our 10th year, February 9th or whatever will be our 10th year. But it's pretty crazy. I can't believe we're at the end of the year already. It's kind of nuts. Although I don't really get seasonally moved at all because I'm in Florida, so everything.
You don't have any, yeah, sure.
I don't really have any. I had a week. We had a week of winter. It was like 49 degrees. I think was the low.
Oh, brutal.
49, yeah.
Brutal.
But it wasn't too bad. Now, I got to tell you before I forget. So I sent in. Amanda made me do it. She actually ordered it for me. Ancestry.com.
Yeah, you told me you were going to do that. Yeah.
So they did it pretty fast. I can't believe it. You spit in this cup, you send it back, then they test your DNA, and they do a match, and they can determine what percentages of your or from where you are in the world. So
you and Blackman, right? You and Blackman are second cousins, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now I tell everyone that I'm half Russian Jew and half or Eastern European Jew and half Italian because my father's Sicilian, as far as I know, and my mother was from the Polish Russia, her Jewish parents. So I get back the results, and here's my percentages. I'm 69%. What do you think?
Let's see, 69%. What would it be? Am I picking a region or an actual country?
From what part of my heritage, my mutt heritage, my hybrid vigor.
I would say more Russian than anything else.
Okay, European Jewish. 69% of my DNA.
You know what? Same thing.
I always thought I was more Italian. I really did. But I look like the Jewish.
So you let me do the math here. What, 29%, 21% what?
24% Italian, and they didn't specify Sicilian, so it was just it was Italian. So it wasn't specific. I thought it would be Sicilian because Amanda's mother had specifically Sicilian listed on her profile.
And then what's the rest?
I'm 3% Middle Eastern. Can you believe that? So I might be able to go to Oxygen Gym there and lay claim to.
You'll see all my ex-clients, but go ahead.
2% Turkey and the Caucasus, whatever that is.
That's Russian /
Armenian. I think that's Armenia.
No, there. Caucasus is the mountains. It's
northern. The Armenian mountains. They said. Yeah.
Are they the Armenian? Yeah.
And then I'm 2% Irish and Scottish. Can you believe that one? Who knows where those people came from?
Okay, so run through it again. 69%
European Jewish, Eastern European Jewish.
Yeah, that is no surprise. No. That's what I meant by when I said Russian.
24%
I meant
Italian.
Russian Jew. 24% Italian. Yeah,
which is not a surprise, obviously, either but I thought I would be more 50-50, but I wasn't.
That's just because you're close to your father. But go ahead.
3% Middle Eastern. So I got my Middle East. No one could, if I go there, I consider one of the cousins there. 2% Turkey and the Caucasus, and 2% Irish and Scottish. So
you're like 5% Muslim, 69% Jewish, and 30% Catholic. It sounds like.
I'm all mixed up. I knew it right from the beginning that I was very mixed up. But no, I'm mostly European Jew. It's pretty funny that I got mostly G's. Because think about it.
You're close then you are related to Blackman, then I said.
I am.
Or Aaron, one
That's
of the two.
why he hired me.
Singerman.
Blackman only hires Jewish people. Romano is the only non-Jew who worked there.
Well, Jim Romano hasn't done Ancestry.com. He's probably,
Him and I definitely have a common relative somewhere. I'm convinced of it. But, I thought I was looking. So I'm looking through my relatives. Like, they give you matches, like most of the first cousins, and I don't have any surprise. There was one person I actually reached out to, and he actually turns out that he was my mother's sister, my Aunt Harriet. I guess had a baby. I didn't even know this. Had a baby, and then I had heard the stories much later in life, but had a baby that was put up for adoption when she was younger, and this is the kid.
How old is he now? Harriet's son.
He's like a little older than me.
Your mother's sister, Harriet.
Right.
Your
So he's
aunt's son.
54, I think. So he's a little older than me.
Let me guess, he's into snakes or something.
No, I didn't really get into what he's into, but
Where's he live?
I think he lives. I don't know. It's a good question. I have to go. I didn't really. I just skimmed the email because it came up like right before we did the show, and I'm like, who the hell are you? I said, who is your relatives? He's like, well, I have a grandfather, Irving Polanski. I'm like, that's my grandfather. I'm thinking, and he's like, my mother was Harriet, Polanski. I think that was the sister of your mother, of Sheila Palumbo, Sheila Polanski. I don't. Is that your mother?
Which is Sheila, your daughter.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, that's what she was named after my mother, but. So yeah, it's crazy, this whole. I told Amanda, I said, look. There's no real surprises. If I was adopted, Ancestry would be amazing, right? Because you don't know anything about yourself when you're adopted. And you don't know, and you could find your biological parents through Ancestry, really, because it's incredible how they will find matches. If you've been on Ancestry, you should do it. It's like $60, Chris. You and your wife should do it.
I just bought pillows that I'm broke now, but go ahead.
No, it's great because it puts you in a database. So if other people are related,
I don't want
to
be found. I'm afraid. No. See, that's a problem. I'm afraid someone's going to find me and say,
but you're like me.
This is what I don't. I like my privacy. People are going to find me, and then they're going to say, like, by the way, you know what's coming next, Dave?
What?
My son is getting ready for a bodybuilding contest.
We're third cousins.
It's like, oh my gosh, does it ever end? And then he's going to want to bother me to death.
Yeah.
So, I can't be bothered.
I'd be shocked if anything came up that really I didn't really know about. But it's amazing how they connect you to. I mean, anyone who's done it. My cousins popped up on there. I'm like, at first, I didn't know who this person was, and then I realized, any girl cousins you have, they get remarried. So you get confused sometimes because you forget they don't have the same last name.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and there's no men in I was the only guy. Of all my cousins, I'm the only male. So it's all women, and I have to try to figure out who everyone is. Sometimes they have the maiden name in there, but it's crazy the way this thing finds you just for your DNA. The matches all link up. It is a science. It's not hocus pocus. I mean, because there would be no way that it would be able to link me with all these cousins.
So it takes how long from day?
It was like less than 2 weeks they had it all done. Yeah. It was crazy. You should definitely just for the shits and giggles, shits and giggles. When I get back from, I think that you probably have some Middle Eastern blood in you too. You never know. I
may. My
you definitely have some British blood. I think that's where you get the terrible skin from.
Oh, the cancer sting. Yeah. I thought you were going to say the crappy humor, but the witty.
No, they have good. I like their humor. They got good humor over there. So that's my. So I found out I'm more Jewish than I am Italian. See, they say. I think that's why they always say if your mother's Jewish, you're Jewish. Because you know what? Here's the deal. We're finding out more and more that when a lot of the things that we inherit come from our mother's side, because the mothers, remember, when the mother has the egg cell that gets fertilized by the sperm, the egg cell is what has the mitochondria in it, which are the energy producing organelles. So the mitochondria themselves have their own DNA, known as mitochondrial DNA. You only inherit your mother's mitochondrial DNA. You don't inherit your father's, because remember, the cell is your mother's. your father's just inserting some DNA into you. It's not coming. There's no cell that's actually being.
Well, there's got to be some DNA coming from your father, right?
No, the DNA is coming, but you're not getting the mitochondrial DNA. It's only your mother's mitochondrial.
Well, what's
DNA.
the difference between the mitochondrial DNA and your father's
The mitochondrial DNA codes for mitochondria, but a lot of the functions in the body are mitochondrial dependent.
Dude, so what's it mean? Because you are a spitting image of your father, and I'm like
I'm not. I have the same mannerisms as my father, but I look a lot like my mother and a lot like the Jewish side. But which doesn't mean anything, because if you could have, you're still getting 50% of your father's genes. It's just for some reason that I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's weird. I don't know. I don't understand it that well, to be honest with you. But
you're a breeder. How do you not understand it? You breed snakes. It's right up your alley.
I think the way your body, expresses a lot of, metabolism in terms of protein synthesis and fat metabolism and carbohydrate metabolism comes from your mother because of the way the mitochondria work. All your mitochondria are your mother's. They're not your father's. It's impossible. You can't get your father's mitochondrial DNA. So all your cells will always be basically fueled by what your mother had. You'll get traits that are your father's because, remember, when the DNA combines, the egg cell and the sperm cell only have half the amount of DNA that they should have. Mm-hmm. When they combine, they form 46 chromosomes. They're only 23 and 23 when they're your mother's and your father's. So you're still getting half the genes, but I guess it's how they express themselves, and there's a lot of epigenetics, they call it, how the expression of genes affect other genes. My mother's side, no one had blue eyes. My father had the blue eyes. I got blue eyes, so obviously, that came from my father. But it's interesting that a lot of the genes in my body, and it's I'm going to have my sister now. She's doing it. I want to see. My sister will probably be all Italian, even though my wife says, "Oh, she looks like your mother." I said, "It doesn't matter." I said, "My father and my sister are exactly like each other, guaranteed." That's why they didn't get along. I said.
Because they what is it? Not opposites attract. They repel.
Well, if you're too much like someone, sometimes you don't get along. Especially if you don't like the certain traits about that person. When you look in the mirror,
live in the same house. If you live in the same house, then
they live together too long. But when you look in the mirror, sometimes it's something that how there's something about yourself that you really don't like, but you don't want to admit it, and then you see it in another person, and then it pisses you off in that other person. What a fucking asshole that person! What? Hey, look at that stupid the way he walks, and then you're thinking, wait, I do the same thing. It's because that's why it annoys you. So that's what I found out today. Always in self-discovery at some point.
Yeah, I think I will have it done, and I'll announce on the air that I'm related to who?
To Bob Grushkin.
I feel like I'm not related to him.
Wouldn't that be funny? Bob Grushkin came up in my fourth distant third cousin. Robert Grushkin.
Dave, I always thought you looked like Uncle Herman.
Oh shit! It is pretty fascinating that the things that they can do now. So my DNA is all over the place now. So I had my DNA tested for all the genes and traits that I have, and then now I have my ancestry DNA taken. Mm-hmm. I pretty much know everything about myself at this point. I got the whole genetic code. It's too late to really help me at all. So what's the upside? It's the kids. You got to get your kids to, not the genetic, not the ancestry. I want to get my kids' genes tested for all the different metabolic stuff, to see what they're good at and what they're not good at metabolizing and stuff like that. Because I think it can help influence how you feed them too.
Of course, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. What else was I going to? Oh, I went to the. I had to get another cardiac. They call it a CTangiogram. It's a cardiac. They don't really look specifically at your heart. They really only look at the more so the aorta, because I have the enlarged aorta, so they got to check it every 6 months. So I had to go for the CTangiogram. It takes 3 minutes. It's really fun. that it's so quick. They pump some kind of like radioactive iodine into you, that's as a stain, I guess, and then they take pictures, and somehow my aneurysm got smaller. So they're not doing anything. They said, you don't have to come back for a year. We'll check in a year. I said, how did it get smaller? And he's like, it's how these people measure and stuff like that. I'm like, that's
so they measured it wrong. Yeah.
It does. It's
they measured it wrong this time or last time?
I don't know. Mine, it's small. I'll take the small. I'm going for the small measurement.
You just want to run out of the office when
my cardiovascular surgeon, the guy who I go to, he actually measured it. The radiologists measure it, and then they submit the results, but this guy actually sat down and put the films up there and measured it himself, and he said it didn't get any bigger.
Well, you're over 50 now, so now you have to worry about prostate cancer.
You know what? I refused. My father he didn't have prostate cancer, but he had an enlarged prostate. I've been on finasteride for 20-something years because I thought it was going to save my hair, which it really didn't, but I'll tell you, on my genetic testing,
maybe you'd be bald if you didn't use it for 20 years.
I think it did some. On my genetic testing, it says that I don't deal with DHT very well. Okay, that I have defects in it, which makes sense, right? Because I have hair loss, and my father had prostate issues. But I've been on finasteride so long, which inhibits the conversion of testosterone into DHT, that I feel that I've been protecting my prostate, for the last 20 years. So it's never had a chance to enlarge because I really never had any problems with my prostate. Knock on wood. Now, the interesting thing about it is that when I go for blood work now, you would think my DHT would be like bottomed out in the toilet, right? Because I'm on no hormone replacement. I'm taking nothing. But it's normal. It's in the normal range. It's like
even on finasteride.
Even on finasteride. So it's not. So I must naturally
you're
have
on
high.
You're on fake finasteride.
No, yeah, either that or I produce a lot of DHT naturally in my body. So when I'm on the finasteride, it actually makes me normal, it makes sense, right?
Can you take more finasteride and lower it even more?
I don't know. I don't need to really. It's in the low normal. Now, I guarantee you probably naturally don't produce that much DHT because you have a full head of hair. You never lost a hair on your head. Even when you took steroids, you never lost a hair on your head. So, good genetics.
Jay's the king of genetics.
I know. Jay, you, and Dorian Yates. Great hair.
Does Dorian have good hair?
He does. He still has all his hair.
Hairzilla. I'll call him Hairzilla from now on.
Who else has good hair? Gunther Schlichtkamp always had good hair.
Yeah. Mike O'Hearn,
great hair. But he says he's natural, so,
Well, he could still have high test levels to make him,
True. He never lost a hair.
I don't know who were some of the Lee Priest had that long hair that year in the Olympia.
Well, he has good hair. No, you're right. He has very good hair. He has. He hasn't. I don't think he even has a receding hairline at all. Which just goes to show you that we're so genetically dependent. It's. But what I found is you don't get everything. If they bless you with hair, they take something else away from you.
You get small calves.
You can't have it all. Ronnie Coleman, we thought he had it all. Then they gave him injuries. So
they gave him a spine that couldn't hold up to 900 pounds front squats.
Exactly. So it's funny. I hit like a point in my training. Yeah, I train at home.
What training? 2 times a week?
Yeah, I've been training a little more at home. I train like for 20 minutes, like 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah. Well, you can do one set, and then that's all. You can do the Menser/Dorian one set to failure, and then
I'm afraid to go that heavy, believe me. But I've been lifting, and I've been getting a little stronger. It took a long time. I guess this is going to be a year I'm coming up on that I got my second shoulder done, and I'm just starting to feel good. But I'm in no pain.
I put Guy Cisternino, Pee Wee Herman's pictures before and after on my Instagram, and I
saw that. Cody Montgomery,
Eduardo Correa, and I put Cody Montgomery's, who was like stunningly odd because he looked like he was out 9 years old in the before picture. Yeah. So maybe your pictures can go up the before and after.
Yeah, you never know. I feel good. So I've been, I'm not trying to set records, but I'm training. I'll tell you one thing.
What's your favorite body part to train?
It used to be legs, but I have the torn quad, so I really can't do legs very much. I'll tell you, I love to train chest now. And the reason I love to train chest is because I couldn't train chest for 20 years without being
because
in
of
pain.
the shoulders.
Because of the shoulders. Now I could actually pick up a pair of dumbbells. Not that I don't go more than 45-pound dumbbells right now. I'll just
you get a good pump.
I get a great pump because I could actually put my arms into the position that they need to be in to actually do the exercise right. The funny thing is I have tremendous exercise form. I just couldn't use it because I had been in so much pain for so long. So I was kind of working around the pain, but
it sucks.
It kind of feels good that I can actually, with back when I row, I can do wide grip rows. Nothing hurts. It's like seriously like a miracle. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to set any records. I don't need to break the implants.
Over 50 bench press record and blow your shoulders out.
Not going for any world records. Yeah, I'm just. I'm going for the pump. I'm just going. I just want to feel the muscles.
Can you get a pump? It's nice to get a pump.
Yeah, very good. So I, my blood sugars had been running a little high. Like in the morning, sometimes the fastings would. And I'm not. People are going to say, "Oh, you're such a fucking hypochondriac." I wasn't like over 100, but I would get like sometimes I'd get in the 90s. And you're supposed to for good tight blood sugar control, you're supposed to be under 90 fasting blood sugars. I don't know if you ever tested yours, but
no. Too much.
They're
too
probably
scientific.
Normal. They're probably normal because you don't really eat a lot of food. But I don't really eat a lot, and they were running a little high. And since I started working out, I was working out at night. So I'm like thinking, I probably shouldn't go to bed with not eating nothing. Sometimes I have an apple and go to sleep or something like that. But so I pulled out my Protolize Species Nutrition protein pudding, and it's like mostly isolate.
Delicious.
It's got some casein in there. So I've been making it like a shake. Okay, what I've been doing is I've been mixing it with water, like more water, rather than making it like a pudding, which is thicker. You only add 2 ounces. I've been adding like more water, like doubling or tripling the water, and mixing it like a shake, and it comes out like a thicker shake, because it's got the casein in there. And since I've been doing this the last 2 weeks, this little experiment, I've been waking up with blood sugars that are lower. Like much lower. Like instead of like 85, 86, 87, 88, I'm waking up like in the 70s. Now, it's the only thing I'm doing differently, okay? Now, I was working out before that, but my workouts were so pathetic I didn't really feel that I need to eat things. They were like a joke because I was just basically...
moving your arms.
I was basically just rehabbing. So, but my blood sugars were still a little on the higher side. Ever since I started putting this casein, so my new theory is that I think that a longer acting or time type of release, protein can help suppress that surge. Because what happens? You have this dawn phenomenon. Right before you wake up, your body cranks out cortisol and glucagon, and it raises blood sugar. Because it's getting you ready to wake up, right? So you can actually move, and you don't have low blood sugar.
Mine probably doesn't go because it takes me like hours to wake up.
But the problem is, a lot of people, as we get older, or even you guys are on GH, your pancreas can't produce enough insulin to lower those blood sugars. So you wake up with what we call high fasting blood sugars. It's almost like you ate a meal. Like if you were to eat a meal and test your blood sugars would be, in the hundreds somewhere, which would be fine because you just ate a meal, right? And then after 2 hours, they should come down under 130. But if you haven't eaten for 8 hours, that's considered a fasting blood sugar. But you're waking up. Who sleeps for 8 hours anymore, right? If you wake up, you shouldn't be over 90. That's the thing. But a lot of people are over 90. So I found it interesting that the Protolize kept my blood sugar lower in the morning, and I have to imagine it's probably better for your health. So
by what effect? Okay, got it.
I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know. I think it suppresses cortisol or suppresses glucagon somehow. Because what does your body use to raise blood sugar? Well, it takes amino acids, right, and it converts it into glucose in your liver. If your body has to mobilize that glucose, those amino acids, what is it going to use? It's going to use cortisol, right? That's going to rip them out of the skeletal muscle. Yeah. And it's going to turn it into glucose. But maybe if there's amino acids floating around the bloodstream, because it
doesn't need to do that.
It doesn't need to do that, right?
Yeah.
The liver will still convert them into glucose, but not in excessive amounts because because cortisol gets over secreted is what happens. And especially if you don't sleep well, that's a stress hormone. You'll secrete probably double as much as you can. You're going to raise blood sugar too much. then you wake up with high blood sugars because you haven't had enough time to bring them down. So
makes sense.
There's my theory, and if you guys want to test it out, I know a lot of people contact me. They're running high fasting blood sugars, but the rest of the day their blood sugars are good. Try to use Protolyze. I'm telling you, it's take a scoop. It's 30 grams of protein. You can make it like a pudding with 2 ounces of water. You can mix more water into it. I just mix it with a spoon and like a big 8 ounces of water, and I drink it down. And then I actually take my Fiberlyze right after. So I don't know, maybe the fiber does something too, but that's my combination. And I'm telling you, I can't believe. I try to tell Amanda, she's like, "You're an idiot."
Do you feel different in the morning?
No, I'm shocked at how good my blood sugar is.
I know that the blood sugar level is lower. But
I don't know if I cognitively
different.
feel any better, any different, because I still don't sleep enough. But I don't feel tired or anything like that. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm absorbing. I don't know.
But you're too busy to feel tired.
The problem is that the problem with higher blood sugars, unless you're super high, you probably won't know you have them, and that's why they're dangerous because it's kind of something you're not aware of. That's why I said you should go buy one of those. These blood sugar monitors, Chris, are like $9. You should just, out of shits and giggles, test your blood sugar in the morning.
I haven't even got to the ancestry kit yet, and you want me to?
You're falling behind. Come on, you got to.
I'd rather find out where I'm from. It's more interesting to me to find out, if I'm from Africa or if I'm from Antarctica versus, it's my blood sugar level's high.
Well, John Romano's...
And if mine were high, you know me, I wouldn't change, hey, Chris, you should change your lifestyle. I said, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Still going to drink coffee as a meal, eat chips in the afternoon, my favorite thing to do.
Romano has a black relative. I guess one of his grandfather.
That means he can't be racist. But go ahead.
Yeah, he's not racist anyway. But I think his great grandfather was a merchant marine, in Sicily, and they went around the Cape of whatever it is, Good Horn. I don't know what it is.
Good
Hope or something like that. And they were stationed in Africa for like 3 months or 6 months, and he met some woman there and got her pregnant. Back in those days, you get someone pregnant, you got to bring them back with you. So he brought her back to Sicily. And
in those days, you did? I thought you just.
I guess he felt obligated. The Italians, who knows? He fell in love with her. Maybe, I don't know.
Well. And
so he has a distant relative that was an African woman. I wonder if that'll come up in his DNA. That he should really do the DNA testing to see what percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Black men, I'm an equal opportunity employer. I knew it. I told everyone. I don't just hire Jewish people.
Romano's black.
He probably ran my DNA when I let me looking. He's like, "Oh, Dave, 70%. That's enough. We can
take a skin sample. Get the cup. What was his secretary's name? I can't believe it.
Which one?
Blackman's for years.
Teresa?
No, way before her.
Oh, probably before my time even.
God, she was there forever.
Didn't she become the saleswoman?
I don't even know. She was. I can hear his voice now say, "Get in contact with so and so."
She became the Angela Frizzalone.
Angela.
Yeah, she became his head salesperson at Muscular Development.
When I was still around.
She was doing all the sales. Who knows?
You should have some of these people on live with. Some of the people who are like.
She's very loyal. She's very loyal, Steve. I think she was actually cleaning as it was the cleaning lady first, and she worked her way up. But she was really nice. I always got along well with her, so I have nothing bad to say about her. So that's my little update on myself. I've been getting. All these people have been sending me emails about. I don't know if you've been watching the programming on. Did you see the Arnie List interview I did?
Oh my goodness, no! But I know Arnie List, dude.
I know you do. That's why
Arnie's from Vermont.
I know he is. We were.
He had a brother.
Did you guys go to the same? Did you guys go to the same college?
No, but Arnie had a brother too. His brother they were both good bodybuilders. Carl List. Yeah. Is Carl still around?
He's still training. I think he's still training people. I think he's still training people at Gold's Venice.
Where is Arnie List? Where does he live?
He lives in California, but he's not involved in bodybuilding anymore. What a crazy life
he's had. I was just trying to think of that. What does that mean? I'm not involved. Do they still follow it, like when you're uninvolved? Or
I don't know if he still follows it. it was a great. We did part 1. We got to do part 2 because he's got a very complex life.
Yeah, he did back then. I remember. I missed it. I haven't seen it. I'll have to.
The only thing I knew about Arnie really was, aside from the fact that he placed, I think he was second at nationals one year, won his class at North Americans, but I remember when he got punched out by Craig Titus in the gym.
Yes.
Yeah. I never knew the story. Do you know the reason?
No,
why?
I didn't know the whole story. No, but Titus must.
I'll tease you guys with it because then it'll make people go watch the interview. Craig, remember when Craig got arrested for selling ecstasy?
Yes.
Well, he had called Arnie. I don't know. Maybe they were kind of friends, and he said he needed bail. And Arnie is like a nice guy. Like he went and bailed Craig out, put $5,000 up, and you lose that $5,000 because it was like a bond.
Yeah.
So Craig hadn't paid him back, and Craig was in the gym after all this was went down. And Arnie was like, I guess Craig was on the treadmill getting ready for some show or something like that, and Cormier and Flex and Rico were over there next to him, and Arnie went up to him and said, "Hey, Craig, am I gonna ever get my $5,000 back?" He's like, I don't owe you any money. Typical Craig, bully the guy that he knows he could beat up.
Or thinks he can.
Yeah. So. And Arnie was there, I guess, with his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife. And he said, Israeli girl. And he said, he goes, I think he said something to the degree like, well, you're delusional because you probably think you're going to win the Olympia, and that'll never happen. And Craig fucking lost his fucking mind. Got off the treadmill, was in Arnie's face, and Arnie's like, I should have been expected like Craig to do something. It wasn't a cheap shot. We were looking at each other right in the face, and he just fucking, basically decked him, face to face. It wasn't a cheap shot. I had heard it was a cheap shot. He said it wasn't a cheap shot. But he hit him. He said he hit me pretty hard. He goes, and the only thing I could do was like fall forward and grab him. He said, because, I was kind of dazed a little bit. And of course, Cormier and all those guys jumped in and separated him. And then I guess Arnie's like girlfriend was screaming at Craig, because she knew the story, and Craig probably would have beat her up too, because Craig doesn't give a shit. Yeah. But obviously, all those Flex and those guys would never have allowed that. They would have killed Craig if he would have done that. So Craig kind of laid off, and then they wound up getting. And then I had heard Craig got kicked out of the gym by Ed Connors because of that for a while. But Ed loved Craig. He loved him. He only kicked him. When he kicked him out for like 3 months. Arnie got kicked out too, though. I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know why they kicked Arnie out, but both of them got kicked out.
And what else? You had Phil on, right?
Phil.
Sid. You interviewed.
Yeah. Sid. Phil. Yeah. I was going to get to the Dubai interviews in a minute, but if you guys want to watch a really good interview, Arnie List is a great.
Well, just what's he talk about? Because nobody knows Arnie List.
Well, I'm telling you,
nobody knows.
We talked about the Titus thing. We talked about how he got. He had been in. I guess he had done some show. He was from Vermont, like you said. He had done a show there. He was like 145 pounds. It was like a Dexter thing. He started like as a lightweight or something like that.
He was very good.
He went to but he was a Grushkin guy.
Was he?
Bob helped him. Yeah.
Yeah. Does he talk about that?
Yes, he does.
Oh, I got to listen to it.
Yeah.
What's he have to say about Bob?
We didn't go into a lot. I mean, we have part 2 coming. I'm going to ask him more about Bob. But yeah, he said Bob, he went to Bob's. Bob's like, you got great shape.
You're 140, you probably win the Olympia.
Bob took him to the World Championships out in overseas. It must have been NAB. I don't know. I don't think it was the IPB.
Well, you know what?
And he won. He won the overall.
Yeah. See.
He won the overall out there with Bob. And so he came back, and then I guess somehow Ed Connors heard, through the Bob with Grushkin.
Yeah, because Bob used to talk to Ed all the time.
Right. And I don't know who told him to go out to California. I don't know if it was Ed.
Bob hated California, but go ahead.
Someone got him to go out to California to do something. I don't know if he did a photo shoot out.
You know what? You know why Bob Gruskin hated California?
Why?
Because people would get into the recreational drugs out there.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And staying up, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Too many distractions. Too many distractions. Just go out there and do pictures. So he was out there. I guess he was friends with Artie Zeller. I didn't know he was good friends.
Oh, really?
With yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He used to manage Golds for a while.
Yeah,
I think, right?
Yeah. Well, so Ed offered him a job. He went out there for 2 weeks, and
Ed offered everyone a job.
And as he was leaving, he said, he really didn't want to go back to Vermont. And as he was walking out the door, literally to drive to the airport to go home, he runs into Ed.
That's how I met Ed, right in the parking lot.
Yeah, and Ed's like, "Oh, you look great. I hear a lot about you." He's like, well, you're leaving? He's like, well, I have to go back, Ed. He's like, well, I'll give you a job. You want to run work at the gym here? He's like, Ed, I'm leaving. He's like, so he said, let me think about it.
Ed could give a shit, yeah.
Yeah. So he went home and he said, I was there for like 2 weeks, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm leaving. I called Ed up and flew out there, and the rest is history, basically. But he had some good stories. He had met Arnold with Wayne D'Amelia in the city somewhere. A great story,
What's he doing now, Arnie?
So we haven't got to that part. I know what he's doing, but he's involved in filmmaking now. He's trying to get involved. He's trying to make this film about his life, and then he has another guy he's involved with. This black guy who infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan. It's like it's a crazy story. He actually went to jail for a little while too. For growth hormone. He was selling. Remember the AIDS patients would have all these growth hormone kits. He was sending them to some guy in like Florida and selling them. And it was a whole fucking crazy scheme, and he got arrested for doing it. But like years after he had stopped doing it already, like it came back to bite him. And I said, that's how I got in trouble. So yeah, he did some time for that, and now he doesn't even work out anymore. But he's involved with this. He's trying to make movies. He's got some other stuff going on. He's a very smart guy, I got along very well with him. I thought the interview went really, really well. It gets crazier his life. Like I said, the part 2 is going to be really good. I think people are going to really like it. So I love when I interview people and I don't really know that much about them, but I kind of know about them, and I learn stuff while I'm doing the interview that I didn't know before. That to me is exciting, And I think people who watch those interviews are excited by it because they can see that I'm excited.
That's the appeal. Listen to me. I mean, that's the appeal, right? I mean, I'm asking the questions. What's he doing now? Anyways, people like those interviews.
Right.
Even though, like I said, a lot of people don't know in the context of who Arnie is.
He was telling
a story. That's dating you, dude. That's dating you.
He's telling a story. He was at a show. I guess he went out to California. He was at a show. Some, the gay guys were all over him because he had blonde hair and the whole Chris Aceto.
Then he talked like that, kind of like me. Actually, he talks like me, like that main.
Yeah, he sounds just like you, and you probably had the same guys hitting on you that he had hitting on him.
Yeah, well, he was behind the desk. Yeah. Hey, he'd talk to me every morning. You know what? I used to talk to him daily. I'd come into the gym. Yeah.
Well, you guys had that New England thing in common, too.
Yeah. He used to wear the same, isn't that funny? He used to wear the same yellow Gold's Gym t-shirt like every day.
Well, that's probably the uniform, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure he had more than one. He looks like he's an anal retentive, clean fanatic, So he reminds me of Craig Licker a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. It's so funny that you say that. Look alike. It does. You know what? Get them both to take the ancestry test. They're probably third cousins.
They could be. They're from similar areas up there.
Arnie was a good bodybuilder. Carl was surprisingly a better bodybuilder, I believe.
And wasn't Carl dating that Jody Friedman, who was a good bodybuilder too, right?
Oh, yeah. I did a prep for her. I did Jody's first diet. Isn't that crazy?
She was good. Didn't she win Team Universe something like that a few times?
People didn't believe she was natural.
Was she?
Yes, she was.
Wow. She
was a gymnast, so she had crazy foundation.
Yeah, good calves and everything like that too. The old days. Yeah, so Sid, who went to Dubai, 2 weeks ago, is starting to put those interviews up. The Phil Heath interviews up, part 1 and 2. I believe it's part 1 and 2 is up, or maybe only part 1 is up. Part 2 will be up Monday.
Yeah, the part 2, people saying, "Oh, Palumbo, he just clickbaits. He's going to break it into 40 parts."
Yeah, it was long. You can't get Phil likes to talk,
Yeah. Guys, that's his favorite line. Guys.
What else? We have other interview. The Brandon Curry interview went up too this past week.
Phil said he would have won.
Yeah, and so Curry challenged him. He said, "Bring it on." Do you think we'll see Heath on stage in 2020?
I'm surprised, but no.
Really, you don't think we will?
I saw that interview.
Think he's scared?
No, I don't think he's scared.
So then why wouldn't he compete?
I think he's mentally moved on. There's a big, as big
No,
as he's still.
I know.
There's, your mind. You know what?
Everyone thought Arnold was done. Arnold came back in 2000. In
no,
1980.
it's true. I mean, he's physically capable for sure to come back and win. And Bader's tried to get him over there, I'm sure.
The funny thing is, all the guys he's competing, he's still the youngest guy on stage.
I know, it's funny. Old. Yeah, it's crazy.
Phil is still younger than like Roden and all those guys, and Dexter. And
I'll tell you what's hard. It is hard to train every single day to be the best in the world, and to follow the diet, the meals, and the regiment, and go to bed like thinking about your workout for the next day, getting up and doing it Groundhog Day after day, and then
you can't be a good businessman.
I know, yeah. And then the minute you start doing other things, it's just hard to get back into that mental tunnel.
You almost don't want to do it too.
Yeah. Well, the flip side is you realize no matter how successful you are in that tunnel, it's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And I know people say, wow, the money. The flip side is, on the other side, Phil's 40, the life. And I mean, it's an opportunity to have a more regular life.
He said he could be, he's like, I can make just as much money. I can make that $400,000 through business. I don't have to go on an Olympia stage to do it.
Well, you could make $4 million through business that you could never make through bodybuilding, winning prize money. I mean,
so, well, it'll be interesting to see. I know that what these guys are doing. Look, Ronnie milked it. Kai milked it, right? I could be back this year, maybe, right? That keeps the excitement.
Well, you're the captain of telling people Kai's coming back.
Right. Yeah, well,
every show we do, I hear Kai's coming back.
But I think Kai led people on for the last 5 years because
that ship has, as I said that when Cedric beat him. That ship sailed.
You know what will happen? This is typical Kai. He'll wait till he's way past his prime, and then he'll come back.
He'll give it a shot,
and it'll be too little, too late.
Well, I get news he's past his prime, but go ahead.
Right,
he's still huge.
But the guys are not that great yet. There's not that many really good guys.
That's true.
But if you wait another 5 years, there's going to be some new guys coming up.
In 5 years, your waist will be so wide. It's just what happens with age.
I know.
I mean, your waist gets wider as you get older. Yeah. That's in the mother's mitochondrial DNA programming your midsection, for God's sake.
There you go. That's right. So I think it's a lot of lead the people on. Ronnie was talking come back for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
And then he probably really had every intention of coming
he wanted to,
back.
I'm
he
sure.
wanted to. Yeah, he just kept having more injuries. Yeah.
The injuries, yeah. I'm sure he wanted to.
Jay was the only one who kind of said, I'm done,
Yeah.
He made that 1 year comeback, and that was it. He's like, all right, I had enough.
And what about Curry's interview? He said he's going to beat Phil, or?
He said, tell Phil to bring it on,
Yeah, well, what are you going to say? Tell Phil to stay home?
He didn't, he's not backing down from him. He's not saying, well, Phil's a great champion. He didn't pull that whole qualify it type of thing. He didn't qualify it. He said, tell him to bring it. Which is good. It's a good attitude.
But I was right about the Olympia, wasn't I, Dave? Remember when you and Romano tried to shove down my throat that it was going to be the greatest, exciting Olympia, and I said
it was exciting because there's a new Olympia champ. I said it was a dud. But all right, hold on. Let's assume for a minute. Let's recast the Olympia. Let's assume the same players are there, but everyone was in great shape. Okay, it would have been a battle. It would have been exciting. So the competitors fucked it up. It wasn't that there wasn't enough talent there. It's just that the guys who actually showed up didn't bring the goods.
Well, yeah, but the three headliners, Roden, Heath, and Ramy, were not there.
No, I know that, but I'm saying because there was an open title, it could have been exciting had there been three guys that were in great shape battling it out up there.
You wanted to see 1st through 10th all peeled out of their minds and their lifetime best shape.
Exactly. That's exactly what I want to see. I want to see Rulli shredded. As far as I'm concerned, Rulli lost the Olympia. I think that was his Olympia to win. If he would have showed up and brought everything that he had to bring, he would have won.
Well, he didn't. Neither did Brandon. They didn't show up like they're.
But you see, when someone like Brandon doesn't show up 100%, it doesn't matter because he's so gifted genetically, and his physique is put together so well. He'll beat these other guys at 90% if they're at 90%.
Who's the other guys?
I'm saying a Rulli Winkler physique. If it's not 100%, it doesn't look good. You know that. The big mass mind, it's like Ramy. Ramy at like 90% is like just a big blob up there.
Yeah.
Big blob. You see the potential, but it's like if he would have just brought it, he's off, Yeah. It reminds me of remember when Nasser was at the end of his career? Not the very, very end, but right after he stopped winning shows, you're like, Nasser, just fucking come in shape, please.
Yeah.
He just kept trying to come in bigger, and he had that kind of physique that if he wasn't shredded, he just was not impressive.
Sure.
Whereas Flex Wheeler can come in, a little off, and it's like, I wish he would have been harder, but you give him the win anyway. Coleman, yeah. But Coleman, toward the end of his career, had some weird proportions, too. His waist got a little big. So if he wasn't really crisp, he didn't look as great. Earlier in his career, he can get away with it when he had everything, really flowing nice in his body. Same thing with Kai Green.
True.
If he's not shredded, you pick his physique apart,
yeah,
right?
He takes on the H factor. Looks like a capital H.
Yeah.
No, he does.
He just
he's square.
He doesn't look that sharp. And his gift is he has such deep separation in his muscle that if he flexes just a little harder, sometimes he can pull it out. He can fake his way through it. But I've seen Kai in the off season, at 300 pounds. If he flexes his quad hard enough, you could see crustration.
Yeah, of course. It's a Pittsburgh guest posing.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't mean he's in shape. It just means he's got crazy
frustrations in his outer quads when he's 300 pounds. That's what it means.
Yeah. So that was that. So let's talk about this. The last show. Was this the last? I think it was the last show of the year, technically, right?
Well, there can't be a show between now and 12 more days.
Yeah, Christmas is coming up.
Something like that.
This is the Battle of Texas. It was a classic physique.
Who promoted that?
Was this the show that Sheila Brown promoted?
Maybe it was.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. So you had a couple horses in the race.
Yeah.
You were actually the winner.
I did.
Great. I think that was a surprise to a lot of people because he was the smallest guy in the lineup.
Yeah, 4'11".
Is he really that short?
No, I know. I'm just. He's listening to the show probably, and he's probably going to get pissed. I said that. I have no. Maybe he's 5'4", 5'4",
Sammy
5'.
Ganem?
Yeah.
Where's he from?
He lives in Boca. We did Ancestry.com. He's from Lebanon, so he's.
I was going to say he definitely is not from Boca Raton.
He's Lebanese, so he's got that Middle East genetics going on.
Right. It seems like Boca Raton is the new Venice, California.
I think he weighed in 75 here. He weighed in, I think.
Wow.
I think at 55 when he won his pro card last year.
Oh my God! Really? 55 kilos?
No, 155 to 175. He gained 20 pounds on that little frame.
He's got a nice structure, but he was a lot smaller than these other guys. Now, you also helped the fourth place guy, Jonathan Hambrick, who I think I might have been the first guy to interview him after he won the Junior USA naturally, at 19 years old or something like that, 20 years old.
Yeah, he went from winning. He went from.
He won that, and then he got his pro card.
Yeah, and I think he got his pro card. Went to a few pro shows last year. Went to the Olympia at 20. It's funny. That's the interesting story. I think he was 20 when he did the Olympia last year, I believe.
Oh yeah, maybe was he 19 when I interviewed him when he won the?
No, I think he was just 20. So maybe he was 21 last year. I think he's 21 now.
He's not. I know he's very young, and what a great physique. He's got to be an open guy, I would think, at some point, right? I don't even know how he makes the weight class. He looks so big.
Yeah, I mean, he could go to open. It's funny. Yeah, could he go to open? Yeah, I think so.
He looks so much bigger than everyone on stage, doesn't he?
Yeah, how's his condition?
Superb. I'll tell you one thing. This lineup might not have been made up of a lot of name guys, except Hamburg might probably be the most well-known guy up there. But these guys were all in great shape, man.
Yeah,
I wish the Olympia lineup looked like this.
I know.
Sammy Ganem, who won. Toto, I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name. Zhang?
I don't know. I'm gonna Google it.
Sammy Adiki in third. Then Hamburg in fourth, and then Jose Marte in fifth. What a great lineup, though. All these guys were in tremendous condition. I looked at the pictures. I was like, I wish the open guys were this lean. And for a show that took place in December, that's pretty impressive.
Well, that's I think what all these guys did just that. They're like, okay, it's the last show, so maybe my competitors won't be in shape, so I'm gonna just like gas it to the show.
No
right?
walk in the
know what
park.
I mean?
Yeah, it was no walk in the park whatsoever.
Like one of these, I'm gonna catch some of these guys off, and everybody, top 14.
There had to be 50 guys in this lineup too, Chris, which is even crazier when you think about it, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Big lineup.
Can't believe it, how many guys were in the lineup.
So look at the second call-out. Everyone was in shape.
They weren't... When we were competing, there wasn't even this many pros. You couldn't...
No.
This would have to be like every pro in creation competing here. Unbelievable. Well, congratulations to Sammy Ganem for the win.
I did, when I was a little salty, as one of the dealer gurus would say, when Kamal had just won the 212. Well, I came out of the 212 prejudging at the Olympia.
Right.
And, Kamal was essentially moved to dead center. I mean, it was pretty unanimous that he was going to win the prejudging for sure.
Yeah.
And I saw PJ.
Okay.
And I saw Sammy at the Blackstone booth.
Right. Does Sammy work for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's why I'm assuming he moved to Boca, right?
Yeah. So I told Sammy, I went over and I said, I'm surprised to see him there. And I said, let's get PJ over here. PJ came over and I said, this kid's not working this damn booth next year.
He's going to be in the show?
Yeah. And he said, why? I said, because he's going to be in the show. And Sammy looked at me like, I am?
You predicted.
I was kidding, but not kidding.
Yeah. That's great. This is going
to
be Olympia. Mm-hmm. I love to hear stories like that.
And I wonder if I get a little commission for mentioning Blackstone.
There you go.
Blackstone. If I say it every time, Blackstone.
PJ bought two snakes from me about 3 weeks ago. You saw that, right?
Did he drive it home he drive him home in his Lamborghini?
No, I don't think he's not driving a Lamborghini like Aaron anymore. But yeah, he bought 2 carpet pythons for me.
Did you see the giant snake wrapped in the Christmas tree somewhere? The lady brought it home and
yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. The poor snakes always get vilified somehow.
Because they're scary. They can get you.
I did a video today. I'll put it up on Instagram. My daughter playing, my 2-year-old, not even 2-year-old daughter, she'll be 2 next week, playing with the snakes. No fear. She loves animals. My son just likes to clean. He wants to clean the snakes. My daughter wants to handle the snakes. So she'll be my little apprentice.
I told you last year around this time, he was 5. My 5-year-old said, "Are we going to go back to that man's house who gives injections to snakes?" Because when we went to your house, we pulled.
I was doing an antibiotic prescription. I mean, an injection.
You were injecting the snake.
I was injecting Winstrol into the snake. No, just kidding.
That's what he remembered 1 year later. He saw it at 4 years old, so at 5, are we going to that man's house who injects snakes?
Oh my God. I'm thinking to myself, I said, if I wasn't married to my wife, I would probably have like alligators living in the backyard. I would be.
Oh, of course.
You know me. I'd have it would be complete.
It would be so out of control. It'd be ridiculous. The city would be shutting you down for,
No, the good thing is where I live, it's agricultural zone. You can have whatever you want. You can have animals. You can have.
You need like a little baby elephant in the backyard.
Believe me, you don't think I thought about that? I have a friend who imports like wildlife, like for like very wealthy people, and he actually got an elephant or 2 elephants. He didn't even know what he was doing. Listen to this story. He imports venomous snakes, like he sells to exotic collectors. And this guy had gotten word. He said, I want to open a zoo. Very wealthy guy in North Carolina. He goes, I want 2 baby elephants. He's like, can you get them? He's like, I don't know. He goes, yeah. I think he said, yeah, I can get anything, that kind of thing. So he's like, he started contacting people, and he actually flew over to South Africa. And it was like, I think he told the guy $1 million for the elephant, which the guy was like, all right, whatever, I'll pay it. So I said, well, what did it cost you? He's like, well, I think it cost him like $250,000 for the elephant, and then he had to ship it over. He's like, I didn't know what I was doing. I had to fill out. I was filling paperwork out. I had to hire a lawyer to help me fill the paperwork, like a wildlife. He got the
like
fucking
the lawyer would know.
No, they have like specialty lawyers that know this stuff. I don't know. He said, I don't know how I did it. He goes, Dave, but I probably made about $400,000 on the deal when it was all said and done. Wow. He's like,
easy money.
He's like, well, it wasn't easy money, but he goes, it helped.
It wasn't hard money. I mean,
yeah. I said, don't you love people who have like that, like fuck you money that they can buy anything they want? Yeah, I want an elephant. First of all, it was funny. I asked him, I said, what if I wanted to get an elephant? Could I have one on my property because it's agricultural zone? He goes, you have to have walls. You have to build walls that I think they have to be like 10 feet high, and they have to be able to withstand like 1,500 pounds of force or something like that. Like the wall, he goes, the walls you'd have to build around your property alone would probably cost you like $500,000 alone just to have the elephant enclosure there,
Hey, I used to take my boat in 1995, 1996 down the New River,
right,
in Fort Lauderdale, and there was at the very far end of the New River, a guy had 2 lions in his backyard.
Wow!
And he had a big barbed wire, fence with the fence, whatever. It had like a
cage,
like
a cage.
Yeah, cage. It was a cage. Like the whole backyard was caged in. Mm-hmm. But he had 2 lions. It was his backyard.
That would scare me because you can kind of die from that. Like that's like, I mean, you have to be able to go in there and clean the cage and feed these things, and if they decide they're in a bad mood,
Yeah, look what happened to the guys. Was it
Siegfried and Roy?
Yeah.
I told my wife that. She's like, who? She doesn't know who anyone is.
Yeah, snakes are going to get you one of these days. They're going to turn on you.
Yeah.
You're going to find out that one of those cute little snakes is actually you get it mixed up.
Yeah.
With the venomous.
Well, these crazy guys on YouTube. The new thing is like they call them pet tubers. They have these YouTube channels. They have all these pets and animals, and the most popular ones a lot of times are these guys that free handle venomous snakes, which is nuts, right? Because the thing turns you dead basically.
Well, they need the clicks and the views.
Yeah. And I watch them. I watch these guys because
then it's working.
Because
they're getting the clicks.
Because I want to see them, get bit and die.
Get
of course,
in trouble. You want to see them get in trouble and die right on the screen.
I'm not gonna see it on YouTube, of course, because if they get bit and die, the video probably won't go up. So this one kid lost his finger though. He got bit by a king cobra. And what was the point of my story? I don't remember.
About having all these, like the ability to have as pets elephants. Lions and crazy snakes.
There was a point to my story, but
make one up.
But people will do anything for and what happens is these guys start making good money from it, so they try to keep one-upping themselves, by doing crazier and crazier stuff, and it's dangerous, I know what the point I was trying to make was. So I'm thinking, maybe I should get like a big water monitor. I don't know if you've seen these water monitors. They're really cool. They're these Asian water monitors, but they'll grow like to 6 feet long. It's like a dinosaur, this thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, do I really want to get bit by this thing by accident, or my kid gets in there and gets eaten? Like it's like sometimes there's a limit.
Sure.
Like these things could be, there is some risk, I know the new thing is everyone wants to get alligators because they're producing albino alligators. I don't know if you've seen these things. They're gorgeous. When they're babies, they're like the coolest. Imagine a miniature alligator, like something you can hold in your hands, and it's completely, not even just yellow white, snow white with red eyes. Mm-hmm. They're the coolest, and they have melanistic ones that are completely jet black. And when they're little, they're so cute, right? Because I mean, it's like a mini dinosaur, right? But these things grow, and they'll get to like 6-10 feet long.
Well, you've seen people in Manhattan, right? Haven't you ever seen these crazy stories? Like people, in Manhattan with the alligator, it started like in their tub and it grew to. I'm serious. You can really? Google it. It's been around. Yeah.
Yeah, but some people don't realize that these things grow up, and and believe me, I was like, man, I'd love to have an albino alligator. But what the hell am I going to do with it when it starts wanting to bite my hand off? It's cute when it's little because they really can't hurt you too much, but they get big, and they got to fucking bite. Their bite pressure when they bite down is it will crush your bones. I mean, it's and they might be friendly and they might be socialized, but they're food responsive, these animals. If you forget, and don't act right, you're going to lose a limb or maybe worse. So, yeah, I have reined myself in, because you can get easily caught up in I want to have everything, type of thing. I want to have everything cool, believe me, but I stop myself, when I start to stay. And it's probably because I have kids now, But I also want to live a long time, too. So I do. I got a lot to do.
And you don't want to get eaten by one of your pets.
I have next week, I'm going to have Patrick Bet David on. He has a YouTube channel. I don't know if we talked about it last week. I talked about it on one of my shows. I think I was talking about it on After Hours, and he interviews people. But he's an army, or he was in the military. He got out. He got into investments, and he made a lot of money, a couple $100 million. Now he owns this. He started this channel called Valuetainment. It's for like entrepreneurs, basically. But he's been interviewing a lot of stars, and he's got into interviewing all the mafia guys. And these mafia, he's Sammy the Bull Gravano. You should watch these things. You love it. You can listen to it in your headphone. You don't even have to see it. They're great interviews. I mean, he's got mob bosses, Michael Francesi, all these. What's his name? Something Light.
So how do you fit into?
Listen. So I'm watching. So I've been. I want it, but he's a bodybuilding fan. He's interviewed Brendan Curry and Dorian Yates. Matter of fact, he has a picture he put up when he interviewed Dorian Yates of as a kid. He's a bodybuilder. He was a bodybuilder. He still trains, of him with his shirt off, like flexing next to Dorian Yates in the back of the 90s. And he knows everything about bodybuilding, this guy. He's like a Sid, except he's got a crazy physique. He's a Jewish Iranian guy, and he's a really good interviewer. But he's really smart. He knows how to make money, and he's not afraid to ask the really tough questions. He had the guy. Remember Donnie Brasco, the movie?
Yes.
He had Joe Pistone, the real cop, on, who was undercover. You want to hear a good interview? Go watch that one. This guy was undercover for 6 years. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
He told his wife originally. He said, "Listen, you're going to take the kids and you're going to go move across the country. I'm doing a very dangerous undercover operation. I don't want these people having any access to my family. It's going to be 6 months." Wife's like, "Fine." 6 years. So he's like, so Patrick Bet David said, "How often would you go visit your family? Like once a week?" He's like, "Once a week." He goes, "I'd go once every 6 months."
I'm more interested how he made the $200 million.
Who?
The guy.
Oh, but you got to watch all the he has all these entrepreneurial videos on there too. I haven't listened to those. You'd probably listen to those. I listened to all the mafia interviews, and I'm thinking to myself as I'm listening to these mafia interviews, it's interesting stuff. The crazy shit that they go through. They talk about, you get the inside scoop on everyone. Who killed Kennedy, all this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, my father wrote this great screenplay that he never published. I never even read it. I have it in my file cabinet for God knows how many years, about growing up in the Bronx, and that some guy he was friends with and who got involved with the mob, and he wrote it as like a miniseries, like 8-part miniseries. I'm like, I got to start reading this thing. we might have gold in here.
might.
You know, I might have an Academy Award winning movie in my filing cabinet. Because these guys, what they're doing now is these guys did 18 years in prison, like 20 years in prison. Sammy the Borgovano did he was a rat. He ratted out Gotti because Gotti was going to kill him, and which I don't blame him. If he would get killed, and then the guy moves to they put him in the witness protection and move him to Arizona by Troy Alves over there, and he's running a ecstasy ring with his son or something like that over there.
Well, he's got a second identity.
Yeah, and he gets caught, and they give him 18 years. So, dummy. The dummy got away with killing 19 or 29 people or something like that. And then he gets caught, selling ecstasy, with his son. So he was in jail for 18 years, and he came out recently, and he did this interview, giving all the scoop on the Gottis and all that stuff. He was actually everyone who was in the mafia. All these interviews I'm watching, he actually said they all liked Sammy the Bull. They said he was a genius. He was running all these construction jobs in Manhattan, and he was making a fortune for the family, And he was a ruthless killer. He was both. Most of these mobsters are either gangsters or they're businessmen. You know what I mean? They're not both. Either they're thugs, they kill people. So
he's a business guy and he's a killer on the weekend.
Yeah, he did both, and I guess they felt threatened by him because he had too much power. In the city. The one guy, Michael Francesi, who was he looked like what's his name, Michael Corleone there in The Godfather. He was making $8 million a week. They were selling gasoline. They somehow figured out a way to avoid the tax on the gasoline, so they were selling to all the gas stations because they were able to sell it so much cheaper. Because if you save these guys 3 cents a gallon, with all the amount of gallons they sell, that's a tremendous amount of money. So he was making $8 million a week. He must have
been not paying the federal tax on it.
I don't know what they were doing, how they got away with it. But he had to give $2 million, 25% to his boss. Even though he was a made guy, he still had a guy over him, and he was pocketing $6 million a week. A week.
What was he doing with the money?
He offshore accounts. They would try to fucking funnel into everything. They would buy buy
elephants is what they did.
No, you know how you go to in the new city, you go and there's a big intersection. There's 4 gas stations.
Yeah.
He would buy all of them. And if someone didn't want to sell, he'd tell the people, he goes, if you don't buy gasoline from me, I'm going to put you out of business. We'll keep lowering the prices way lower than you can afford to. And eventually he said I'd own all of them again. Now they would buy gas from me, and then I'd just buy the gas stations from them. So they would just, they were buying up everything. They didn't know it was crazy. But, he went to jail for 18 years too. And he's lucky. He's lucky that's all. He was saying they gave him a $103 million fine, and he's like, I don't have any money left. And for 10 years, he was going back to court.
For?
Because they wanted them to pay the money.
Okay.
He's like, I don't have any money. So somehow he got them to lower it down to, they're like, we'll lower it down to $1 million. He's like, I don't have $1 million. So somehow he got it down to $250,000. He's like, all right, but I don't have any money. I need 5 years to pay you off. So the fine was $250,000 paid off over 5 years. They probably stashed millions, I'm sure, in crazy, bank accounts and stuff like that. He said, but this guy made a good point. He goes, the mafia, the way it was back in the 80s and 90s and 70s, it couldn't function today. There's too much high technology. There's a camera everywhere, right? Every traffic light has a camera on it. You can't get away with anything. They can monitor everything. Because of Giuliani, I guess the punishment for doing these crimes is life, basically. No one wants to do it. No one's killing anyone anymore. He said the mafia went from being so powerful that they were able to kill a president, John Kennedy, to being just another bunch of organized crime now. That's all it is. It's still in business. It's just not the same way it used to be. They're not as powerful.
I'm going to figure out how to sell you a species protein pudding without paying the tax.
There you go. You buy it in another country. You buy it in the Middle East. Because I don't think there's any tax. Is there any taxes in Dubai?
No, I don't think so. No, probably nothing. No property tax, income tax.
I think they want to implement it. That's what Sammy Trudy was telling me. He lives there. There never was, but now they're like talking about, I think we have to put a tax now. Because that was always the whole enticement to go there, right? No taxes.
Yeah. Earn tax-free.
Yeah, but once you build like a city, like they built,
Yeah,
they realize there's a lot of, you got to hire.
Yeah, upkeep.
Upkeep, right, exactly, or it falls apart. Becomes like the old Roman Empire when it collapsed, you know? It falls apart really quickly, especially in the desert, right?
Yeah, just the dry environment, you name it.
All right, well, that's it. This is I love these shows we do in December, January when there's nothing to really talk about in terms of bodybuilding, competitions, because it kind of gives us the ability to just talk about whatever we want. People seem to like those shows better anyway.
Yeah, people do. They tell me. People do tell me. They say, I like when Dave talks about nothing.
Yeah. Did you see?
In other words, non-bodybuilding stuff. But I like the bodybuilding stuff.
Did you see I don't know if you saw Iron Rage I did with Lee Priest. I made him flex his arm.
Well, I saw his arm flexed in the preview for it. It's gigantic.
He hasn't taken a drug in years.
Of course.
And I believe him. I don't think he's lying.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because if he was doing it, he would tell us. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he don't care.
He has.
Yeah, his arms are huge. How big are they?
He said they.
It sounds like Blackman. How big are they, Dave?
He measured them. He said, "What did he say? They were like 22 inches or something like that."
Yeah, they look 22 on that.
Isn't that nuts?
They're huge.
It's freaking insane, right?
Yeah, it is.
That's why when I used to see people like him, I used to want to just quit bodybuilding. I was like, I can never beat people like this. It's nuts, right?
Yeah, no, he was thick. I mean, he's as tall as, or a little taller, an inch and a half than Sammy, who won just the Texas Classic show. I mean, height-wise, but obviously,
Yeah.
He's got 20-inch plus arms that match the quads.
Unbelievable. What genetics this kid has. I mean, well, he was a phenomenon at 19, right? I mean, Ed Connors brought him over there.
I think even younger than that, he was phenomenal.
People lost their mind, right, when they saw him.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. People were really talking about him.
I remember.
I mean, they still do, but...
People were saying to me, you got to see this kid. He came out to the Golds.
Yeah, you know what? When someone told me about...
Won the Mr. Australia like 25 times. I said he's 19. How did he win it 25 times?
Well, when he first came out, because Ed brought him out, right?
Yeah.
And he came out to LA, or someone was talking, Lee Priest. I'm like, who? This kid from Australia. First thing out of my mouth, gigantic arms. I said, well, he probably has no legs.
Yeah.
And they go like, no, his legs are bigger than his arms. When people talk like that, I'm like, oh God, right. But back when he first came, his legs were gigantic. First year or two in California.
That's crazy. I know he was so impressive. Even Jim Mannion was impressed, right? Didn't Jim help him get his pro card? Because there was really no way to get a pro card out of Australia at the time.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Jim helped him.
Unbelievable. All right. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, Chris. That's going to be it. Hopefully, I guess next week's show will be on. Let me see the calendar. I guess next week's show will be our pre-Christmas show. Mm-hmm. And then the week after that is our pre-New Year show. So we're going to have to do a year-end wrap-up. We have a lot to talk about this past year. Holy mackerel. What a bunch of craziness, right? Yeah,
it never ends. I bet you know what? You're going to have to write stuff down for once.
Well, you know what? I'm going to have all our regular listeners can email me their top 10 list of the stories from 2019. Mm-hmm. And Chris and I will evaluate which ones are the best ones. And we'll talk about those. So much went on, though. I mean, from the rodent stuff to, all the deaths in our sport. Holy new Mr. Olympia this year. Crazy.
Hottie Shupin getting the visa.
Right.
Hottie
Shupin story. Right. Think about all the big stories.
Steve Carroll still. Still has the national.
I'm still fucking boycotting.
That's a softball, David, to talk bad about him for this week. What bad thing would you like to say?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna try to keep the show positive.
Okay.
For the holidays.
Then I'll ruin the show and talk about it.
Yeah. All right, Chris, enjoy. We're out of time until next week. Remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
good night.